All right, it is Companion Botanicals, and that is Bridget Conry. Bridget, thanks for doing this, as always.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You and me, have been talking about solutions, more you than me, have been talking about solutions for a number of months in a row here. And it might be time for us to talk about actually doing the work as opposed to just solutions. Is that a good way to start?
Sure, that's a good way to start. Do you want
Because
me?
if I over rely on just these solutions and I don't change anything myself, well, then where are we?
Right. We are left in a place where we're possibly not utilizing our resources correctly, and we're taking advantages of the plants and things that are available to us to support us in our health. Um, and yeah, if we could do the work to bring ourselves back into balance with health, we wouldn't need these plants as much as we do. And so it just brings a lot of different things that we could talk about in terms of proper use of, medicinal plants, proper use of water, electricity, human resources, and things to support the choices that we make when we hear that, oh, cannabis can do all these things. And so then we start to really rely on it for a whole bunch of things. And the herbalist would say, well, we need to get to the source of the problem, and we need to make changes in our lifestyle, whether that's diet, exercise, all the things that we consume. And if we're doing that, we don't have to depend on plants and other people or things to keep us healthy all the time. So
So I come in to see Bridget in the dispensary and I say, I've been having trouble falling asleep. And you say, well, as far as cannabis is concerned, that can certainly help with it. But what do you think the source of your sleeplessness is?
well, that's not what's happening in dispensaries right now.
Right.
That's what would happen if you went to a herbalist to talk about using plant-based medicine to help you be well again. And so, again, I think that cannabis, it's awesome that it's out there right now as this powerful plant that's introducing people. It's the gateway herb, as we talked about, but there is a concern out there that we're going to, um, create a population of people who are dependent on cannabis for symptom relief. And if we're not talking to them about making changes in their lifestyle to be healthier, and of course, I'm not talking about people who have, well, there's always going to be people who have serious health conditions that their options are limited. There's not a lot of changes, and that can be genetics, can be environmental things out of the control, all of that. Obviously, not everybody can, make these lifestyle changes and have quick results where they don't need to rely on plants and things as much. So I want to say that for sure, because some of the people who are coming to cannabis, they're in end stage, they're in hospice care, there are things that are very entrenched. It takes a long time, and they're going to need cannabis to help them through that and to help them, to have the energy or things to even consider making changes to make them healthier. So, but generally, just speaking about, reliance on cannabis right now, it's like, hey, it's great for this, that, the other thing, whatever, but what are we really doing to move the needle so we don't need it as much? Because my concern becomes is that, we're generating an oversupply, and a lot of resources are used up to grow cannabis right now. I mean, let's face it, the indoor cultivation of cannabis is very environmentally unsound in a lot of ways. All the things that we need to grow it, and even growing it outside, are we taking care of the soil? Are we using too much water? Are we wasting our human resources when we have an oversupply of something? And so those are the kind of the ethical questions that we come into about, relying on cannabis for all the things that we do
At
currently.
its worst, give us an example of a plant or botanical that's in short supply because it's been over harvested.
I mean, there's a bunch, and a great place to go to learn more about that is United Plant Savers, which is a nonprofit that was started by Rosemary Gladstar. She's really like one of the grandmothers of Western herbalism. I would say that golden seal, which is a plant that grows, in our area here in the Northeast. It's a very powerful plant that's used for a lot of things. It's got a powerful active ingredient in it called berberine, and people have been using it forever for, when you look at the list of things that golden seal is used for, it reads a lot like like cannabis sometimes. It's like antimicrobial, it's antibiotic, it's anti-inflammatory, it's astringent. People use it for upper respiratory infections. People use it for liver disorders. People use it for urinary tract infections. People use it topically for wounds and for ulcers, all kinds of things. And so when it became known that it was good for so many things, it kind of became hip. You know, it was another one of those herbs where people are like, oh, whether it's acai or golden seal or whatever it is, they're like, people start to buy it and they start to rely on it. Ginseng's another example. And so golden seal is at risk right now, especially in the wild. And so if somebody needed golden seal for a specific illness, an herbalist at this point would greatly consider what other herbs are out there that I could use instead of golden seal so that we keep it a viable plant in the wild. And so we could go to Japanese barberry or Oregon grapefruit or herba mansa. And, you know, some of those are also ones that are on the concern list, because they all have that berberine component that people are looking for to.
All right. So if with these plants are, and I don't mean to interrupt, but if these plants are you know, on the concerned list, then why don't we just use the synthesized versions? Isn't that much easier?
You know, I actually don't even know if there is a synthesized version of.
Well, we know that they're working on synthesized cannabinoids, is my point.
Yes, we do.
They're working on synthesized cannabinoids. And so
yes, we are.
there is that option, right, where we just single out each cannabinoid and have it do its job. Or we could rely on, what was it again, whole plant medicine?
Right, yes. And so I will always say that there's room for both.
Okay.
You know, sometimes synthesized, very specific, like silver bullet, one molecule component pharmaceuticals or active ingredients that have been isolated, they work for some people at the right dose, at the right time, under the right conditions. But we always want to maintain the whole plant version of things, especially those plants living in their natural environment, because that is when they are most alive and most robust and when they can be of most use to us. They're also the source, as we've discussed before, of our knowledge about which active ingredients can work anyways. Pharmaceuticals were always derived from wild plants. And so if we're over harvesting and threatening, you know, wild plants, we're removing a resource for more knowledge. You know, if they're not there to learn from and to study, then we're limiting our resources to discover new drugs. So we need both.
So what are some of the solutions then, rather than just saying, I can't sleep well, I need solution A, solution B, solution C? What other work might I want to do? What are the solutions?
Well, in the short period of time that we have in our nice little podcast here, I would say that's a really nice segue into, you know, our next edition, which, you know, we've taken 5 episodes now to kind of talk about some of the foundational the foundations of herbalism, you know, and plant-based medicine. And our goal was to lay that foundation and then to really start to look at the qualifying conditions that most medical patients are coming to cannabis for and what companion botanicals they could use instead. And so I'd really like to dive into, like, hey, maybe next time we talk about sleep, you know, and what are some of the other herbs that we could use first or in conjunction with cannabis to help us improve our sleep hygiene. We could talk about, you know, chronic pain management with other herbs. We can talk about libido. You know, the next episodes can all focus on that, and we can weave in not just the plant-based medicine part, but some of the routines that could go along with it, whether it's meditation or mindfulness or diet or exercise. So we could take them one condition at a time. How's that?
I feel like that's a great way to do it. It's almost like we figured this out 6 months ago and have actually executed our plan. You have done so by leaving us with a wonderful, beautiful cliffhanger for the next one. So exactly. I can't wait. They can't wait. You can't wait. We can't wait. Hey, right? Mookie the dog can't wait. I wish I could put her on camera. Should I try to do it? Can you see her? Can you see her there?
Oh, yeah, look at that.
There we go. All right, so we're just looking out the window and waiting until the next Companion Botanicals. Bridget, thank you as always for your time. Can't wait for the next one.
Thank you. Bye.